And we are live Wednesday night with those guys. And Wednesday night with those guys is sponsored by those guys.
What's up, man?
So what's good, guys?
Not a whole lot. I
Same
just
old,
got
same
the
old.
alert
What's
in
up,
my
people?
ear and on the computer like clockwork. Oh, that's my bad.
Did you get any more flying in?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No. I work part-time.
Okay, because
Just to keep change in my pocket, and
the
usually Wednesdays and
reason I asked
Thursdays.
is when we hung up on Sunday, you and Justin were huddling like, when are we gonna? And then I had to leave. But
Good evening, everyone.
Justin can only fly.
JSK,
Justin can only fly
Drone
on the
shots.
weekends. What's up, Big Matt?
okay.
Al Diaz,
Drone shots. Desmond
Big
Donders.
Matt, Desmond,
Desmond Donders, he's a man.
Al Diaz just put out a video.
Big Matt,
JSK
yes.
Enterprises, how are you? Drone shots, I did mention. Who else is here?
Yes, we mentioned
The
drone shots.
usual.
Al
Well,
Diaz,
since you're here,
Big
click
Matt.
the like button early so you don't have to do it
Hey,
late.
Hey guys, check out Al Diaz's last video. Very nice video. Very nice video. You guys got to
Line
check
of
it out.
Sight, NYC. What's up? That's Easy E.
What's up, E?
Easy. And what's up, dude? How are you? Line of Sight.
What's good, man?
What's up, Easy? Hope all you guys are doing okay. I'm honestly beat down, but I'm here.
So if everybody wants to know, Desmond Donders flies mostly Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
That's where he is, in Scotland.
Well, you know what, Lawrence? I'm really getting tired of sitting here. Every day, all day.
I know you're fiending to fly.
Yeah.
I know you're fiending to fly.
Oh, yeah. I
And
look at the
that
drones
tello
every
behind
morning.
you, that tello behind you ain't gonna do it.
Yeah, I know. It's just that just goes back and forth and hovers around. I can go out into the hallway through the kitchen with it, but
Yeah, that's not flying. When you're used to flying a drone, that's not
Yeah.
flying.
but I got a couple of things in there to share with you guys.
A couple of what?
A couple of things I got in yesterday.
Okay.
Share with you guys. Nothing special. A couple of t-shirts.
Hold
I
it.
don't know if you can see it or
Real
not.
men shoot raw. That's what Paul needs. That's what Paul needs. Yes. Yes, that's what Paul needs. Real men shoot raw. And now the average perv on the street would be like, oh my God, that shirt is appalling. Hold it back up, Herm. Hold it back up. Because it's true. The average person would say, oh my God, he must be a pedophile or something. But if you're a photographer, you get it. You get it. Totally. Nice shirt, man. Good one.
But if you're just a general hobbyist, you may get it or you may not get it, you know?
You mean in other words, if your drones have dust on them,
Then you know this one.
FAA registered drone pilot. There
Oh,
you
that's
go.
a nice one. What does it say?
FAA registered, please do not disturb while operating drone.
There you go.
There you go. They're all right. So Herman's coming.
Herman is loaded for
Listen,
bear. He's ready to get
Herman's gonna have the vest on. Someone's gonna ask him a question. He's just gonna go bam.
out.
But I saw the shirt because remember when Justin had the t-shirt and I had asked him when he got it, he said check on Amazon.
Yeah.
They actually have a couple of them, a couple of different ones. There are a couple of different ones like that.
You know, the interesting thing about Amazon is you can almost find anything you want.
What's up, AZ drone dude? How are you, sir? But anyway, listen.
AZ, what's up?
Those guys, I know a lot of people that live here in New York are wondering why those guys hasn't had a meetup or a real meetup, and there's a lot of things to take into fact. Not only the fact that Herman is down and out because of his operation, but even before that, people were like, yo, you guys should have a meetup. You guys should have a meetup. What's up, Stevie from the Bronx? Capture Life Connection. Good interview on Val. You held it down, representing New York City.
She's not so scary.
Huh?
She's not so scary.
Yeah, she's not. You get on there and she's like asking you questions like, so you like put your peanut butter on the left side of the bread or you put your jelly on the right? What, you know. But getting back to what I was saying, there has been and due to COVID and a few other major events and world events, it's kind of hard. But going into the new year, I can promise we're gonna have some meetups. But we want to do it right. When we have a meetup, we want to go live. When we have the meetup, we want to fly live and things like that. Blind Neil, aerial landscape. How are you guys?
What's good, man?
Yeah, Val is cool. She's cool.
What you
It, that she's cool until you get to know her, Stevie, and then you run as fast as you can. No, I'm playing.
where you want to set up a
I
fly
thought you
live
guys were gonna
station?
back me. I thought you guys were gonna back me up, but Paul's busy and they're just ignoring me. So
Hey,
I'm gonna
listen,
sit back and relax.
listen. I know how to run too. I'm listening to you. What you got going on there, Paul?
Yeah, what are you doing, Paul?
No.
We got a lot of good news tonight. I know that. Oh,
Oh,
let me queue up some stuff. I want to queue up that 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 camera drone.
well, actually, what I wanted to mention first was
Yeah, take your time because we're
there was
still early.
there was a there's a company out that for some of these energy companies that do like their own inspections by use of drone and stuff like that. Well, there's a company called Air Exhaust. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's a weird name. And they actually are a UTM provider. And what they're doing is they came up with this,
UTM
yeah, yeah,
means
unmanned traffic management. They
okay.
do unmanned traffic management systems.
What's to the
And
layman? Hold on. What's to the layman
it's
mean?
air traffic control for unmanned vehicles in the sky.
Okay, all right. For just for people that have been keeping up with our live streams, they'd be like, he's talking UTMs and ABCs and CDFs. You know,
Well, I'm quite sure that with remote pilot coming out in December,
31st.
that everybody is aware of what a UTM is. But like I was saying, they've come up with this ecosystem in their platform that is designed to do planning, scheduling of operations, and it's supposed to be able to manage and schedule all of the operation of every one of their drones and how they would ever set up. I don't, basically however they set up to do their inspections, it
Yeah.
would manage it and would keep in time with the inspections yearly. So this is an all-in-one package, and it's based on their air mobility platform, which I thought was a good thing.
Okay.
That's why I
Well,
brought it up because it was, for I know that there are people out there that I was watching a video on another guy who he has his matrice and he does inspections of these power lines.
I'm listening. I'm just responding
And
to a comment.
I was just looking at that, these, with a program like that, they could keep track of everything because now everybody would have to do, and I'm quite sure there's something like this.
Logan
You
Carpenter, what's
probably do this already, but you can it loads everything up from straight from you to their system. So they can keep track of all of the pictures and videos that's taken from everyone that's actually doing it and keep everything in schedule and plan all the inspections.
you know, it's I wish I was a child growing up now because the
Mhm.
opportunities that children have now to get jobs and to grow up and be professionals.
Yeah.
You can be a drone pilot, you can go into robotics, you can go into nanotechnology. All of that stuff is in the United States. We're failing compared to the rest of the world as far as those three things.
Well, that's why I told you if I was going to school now, I know exactly what I would major in. It wouldn't fall much short of where I was at already, but it would be more focused in the drone industry instead of
Thank you.
dedicated to art.
Yeah. Well, even art uses nanotechnology now. I mean, they're painting
It
nanobots.
does.
They're painting nanobots in paint on people's faces to make 3D movies now. Where they used to have to take, remember the ping pong balls? They had to used to have all over this.
Hmm.
Well, it's going from the size of a ping pong ball to something that's maybe fits the tip of this pen right here. And they're painting them on your face. So
Yep.
the technology today and drones and consumer drones and professional drones, they're operating
Look,
now on people with the doctor in one room and the patient in another with two arms and snippy things and
all right,
stuff
when
like
I
that.
went to college, they didn't have digital photography.
All of it because we didn't have digital photography.
They didn't have digital photography. And video was on film.
Kids want to learn easy stuff to make money fast. And see, blind Neil, therein lies the problem.
Well, I wouldn't
It
say that
does. It
about a
does
kid.
because your parents
But I
is
wouldn't say that about a kid going to college that's looking to study something.
no, but if you got to think about it like this, blind Neil, and I'm getting to exactly what you're saying. Kids want to learn easy stuff to make money, and we all know as adults, there ain't nothing easy in life.
Well, there's
Even
nothing that you're going to learn that it's either you got it or you don't when it comes to something like that. And
true, true.
and
Very, very
you
true.
know, something that that's gonna sustain you, that you're gonna be able to do. And let's face facts. I mean, not to go away from the subject, but here in America, you have to be able to afford to die. And you know what easy stuff that you can learn and not learn something that can sustain you. I mean, I don't know how far it's going to take
And Logan Carpenter says, well, and this is true. Right now in America, at 18 years old, you can quit school and work at the stock market full time. Hey, how are you, off axis? Now, therein, once again, therein lies the problem.
you. But still, here goes somebody who is still in the learning process, and still there's a
And
different
they've
type of
already,
school.
and doctors have already said that teenagers cannot ration because they don't have that mental capability. So therefore, we need to stop letting teenagers tell us what they want to do and go back to asking us. When I grew up, I asked my mother, could I go to the park? Now my daughter says I'm going to the park. And I'm like, I'm always the bad guy. But this is what I'm talking about. It all goes back to how children are today in comparison to how children were when I was coming up. Now I'm sounding like an old fart. Yes, I'm 56 years old or whatever. It's
Not
true.
really,
But getting back on the technical part, Herman, the
yeah.
I wish I was a child today. We didn't have nanotechnology. We didn't have, you can take a 2-year course, Paul, and go to a college for 2 years and get your 107 license and come out making a minimum of $50 an hour. With your
Or
107.
more, depending on how talented you are and how hard you studied.
Exactly.
Right.
And who you know. And who you know. I mean,
Well,
go ahead.
well, like I said, these are not things that are easy. I'm almost 100% positive that there's no way you're going to walk into a college and say you want to study in drones or UAS or whatever, and you're going to go and
And you can't
sit
spell
there and
cat.
fly drones back and forth on the campus,
And
open field all
you
day
can't
for
spell
4 years.
cat with the
That's not what you're going
CNA.
to be doing, huh?
And you're saying you can't go into a college and expect to want to fly drones if you
Well,
can't spell cat with CNA.
well, no. What I'm just saying, no. What I mean is that that's not what your that it could sound simple to someone,
Right.
but
True.
that's not what you're going there to do. You're not going there to fly the drone back and forth, back and forth. If you remember when we were talking, and stuff was out there for those programs that were for study, you had to be working towards either some type of study in traffic management and
Yeah,
these things
yeah,
that they were
that's true.
talking about. So
That's
you
true.
had to have some knowledge. You're going to be getting some knowledge on how things are actually done. So that way,
I'm going to
you
share
don't.
a live
What
stream
I
with
think
my
what it is
girl.
that the FAA is trying to make sure that they're not scrambling in the next 20 years for people to tell them how to do it the right way.
That's understandable. But on the technical part of where we are today in comparison to 15, 20 years ago,
Oh yeah.
children have more options now than they ever did. And all they want to do is stay home and smoke weed and drink. Well, I was a teenager too.
Well,
Never mind.
well,
You know,
my
you're,
thing is
you're missing. I'm
I
diverse.
get what you're saying,
Yeah, thank you, thank
but
you.
these things that we're talking don't pertain to those kids.
Right, you're right.
You
You're,
see, I'm a
you're
true
100% right.
believer. I'm a true believer that, see this phone right here.
Yeah,
This phone is not worth anything if there isn't someone who can't afford to have it. You,
true.
you, you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah,
So,
Or if they use a phone exclusively as a babysitter rather than doing something else,
know what I'm saying? There are things, see, that's how things actually get value. You have to have the have nots for the things that you have to be worth something. That's why people always, if you see, you always can get that guy that has not. You can always show him something flashy or show him something that'll sustain him and he'll run after the flashy.
yeah,
That's what he's talking about. The easy thing. But if you go and you learn something to sustain you, you can go and you can make that easy thing over and over and over again.
true. I just posted in those guys in
You know
NYC Five Borough, and
what?
I'm going to post in Red Hook also.
Well, I thought I did that, but
You
what
did. We're
what
live,
what?
but we're live now. So for those who say they didn't see the first one,
Oh well, what I always tell like the kids that I coach, I always tell them that stop worrying about whatever little girl there is there in the school that you chasing behind. Chase behind your books, chase behind your success, because you ask those guys that have fell by the wayside, how much success have they missed chasing behind these girls? And where are the girls at now? But ask
well,
the guys who chase success,
it's
have they missed any girls?
it's funny you say that because I tell people, I tell young men, if you get in the books and you learn how to make money so that you can do for yourself, the girls and all the fun will come anyway.
Yeah, yeah,
They don't get that. They
yeah.
would they don't get that. They would rather get $50 from their mother, go get a bottle of Henny, and go hang out at a house party hoping to get some for the night.
You can go get your head straight, get your degree, get that big time job, and get a yacht, and then have
And
500
have the
homes.
men deliver Henny to
But,
your house.
but yeah. Anyway,
Right. Let's get back on
you
subject.
were impressed by
Jackson
that.
RC, how are you, sir?
What's up, Jackson? You were impressed by that flying picture, weren't
Paul.
Yes.
you? You, Lawrence. You were the one that saw the video.
Oh, yes. Hell yes.
From Flying Picture. I'm
Yes.
quite
Yes.
sure a lot of people have seen it.
The most powerful cinematic drone in the world.
Yes.
You want to know
Oh,
what?
Mia.
I bet you not a lot of people have seen it. You know why?
Yeah, it's been featured a little bit on a few different
It has, but
programs, a few YouTube
we
shows.
we have footage of this drone. I want you to go into the specs first because
Well,
this
I
drone could
really don't.
probably carry someone's small child away.
Well, I believe it can because I don't have much on it, and I just have what they put out on it, and what I thought was quite interesting was we know they say it's the world's most powerful cinematic drone, but it has full motor and flight control redundancy, Paul. This thing has a maximum takeoff weight of 243 pounds. which can
Yes.
carry a payload of a maximum weight of 232 pounds, and it will travel at 56 knots. Now the
Which
camera
is
that's on
65
the
miles per hour.
now the camera that's on the drone that I believe that Lawrence has in the video, I believe that camera is only 121 pounds.
Right. Now, when they say redundancy motors, that
With the
means there's
payload.
motors on the bottom and there's
Yes, it's a
motors on top.
quad, but it has four motors, two
On
on the
top
top,
and
two
bottom.
on the bottom,
Yeah.
on each arm. So it's 8 motors, and it has
Oh,
dual motor and
you got to turn on sharing,
oh,
sir,
every time
because you have it set for no sharing. It
it
on
no, it happened with that
the new update.
update, yeah, and
Yeah.
every time you can you do it now?
I tell you right now. So if you guys want to know what drone we're talking about, it's this one right here. It's called Flying Pictures. This
Well, that's
drone
the
has
company.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 batteries, and they look like 12 cell batteries. I'm in an FPV. They look like 12 cell, but this is what it can do. Okay. I this is what it looks like actually. I cannot I should not be playing the sound.
No, you shouldn't.
Right. But I'm trying to mute it. Hold on. Where's their mute button? Okay.
After
Volume,
you
hold on. There we go. There we go.
should have
Anyway, we're going to talk over this. Pure carbon fiber. This drone, once again, weighs 200 and how many pounds?
well,
Without a camera.
its total takeoff weight is 243 pounds. That's only the
Okay,
weight they
this
give
is
me
the
now.
drone by itself. 243 pounds, can travel up to 65 miles per hour, and
It
can
has
carry us how much?
a payload of 132 pounds, which means it can carry a small child or a
Yes.
small adult.
Yes, or very slim, frail adult. And this is designed for Hollywood. I think the heaviest camera in Hollywood right now is 112 or 115 pounds,
Well,
something like
that
that.
camera that and this payload that is carrying, I believe in this picture, is 121 pounds.
Yeah, right. So think about this. Now you have something that weighs 200 and something pounds, and it can carry something 100 and something pounds. If this thing were to ever come down, ooh, that may be some serious money. But it's a full room. You, of course, it's a two-person bird. You have your pilot and you have your cameraman. So the pilot can communicate with the cameraman. If you see wondering what this 3 lens camera is, that's a 3D camera right there. Hold on, and I'll get to it. It should come up any second now. Right there. If you've never seen a 3D camera, well, this one can carry one. So the problem has always been with drones to carry professional cameras on a drone. Now they can literally do it. When I say literally, it may take you a half hour to put this thing together, but once it takes off, you may have to contact air traffic control and the other airports in the next states around you. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Well, that's about what we can show. Getting back to it. All right, I did have to mute the music. What's up, Big Matt?
What's up,
Matt
big
said
man?
it can carry. Now, Matt, we'd need about 5 of them drones to carry your ass. He's 6'4".
Cool, Matt.
No, yeah, Matt. We could use they could use 2. What's up, me? Is Drone
Matt,
Adventures?
what?
How are you? It does look like a nice bird though, but can you imagine
Bringing
that
it out to the park
to the park?
just to
You
shoot
might as
with?
well just tell everybody to land. Just tell them to land, because when you start that thing up, it's gonna be it's gonna
Gonna
make
scare
everyone want to
people.
stop what they're doing anyway. Hey Paul, I got your
Yes.
alert for your early morning show, and I actually didn't go back to bed. I was laying in bed trying to force myself to stay in bed until about 4:35, and then I saw the phone light up, and I was like, I bet it's Paul.
So how do you guys do that?
Yeah, we'll see.
You
Yeah,
open one
Paul.
eye at a time and you get up.
At 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
All right.
It's not a set alarm. It's an old man thing, Herman. You're not there yet. You know, I got to
Listen,
take a couple, 3 trips to the bathroom. So,
Well, I do. I usually take about 2 or 3
yeah.
at night. Also, it's a bladder thing. Yeah.
I've worked the night shift where
Hey,
we gotta work
Roger.
overnight.
Recovery
3 a.m.
One.
to
How
3
are you,
a.m.
sir? Well, anyway, getting back to that drone, the fact that it weighs 200 and something pounds,
Well, that's his
and
maximum takeoff weight. So I don't know if the exact weight of it is stripped down, but they only show it
okay, so
with the
then
weight of
that means that would take the 135 pounds or whatever it is included. Okay, so where's my phone?
that weight includes its payload.
Okay, then that's actually not too bad.
Well, actually, I guess you can figure it out from if you say the payload is
It's 274, and you take away 135 or whatever that is.
yeah, I guess you can get the weight that way.
Yeah, yeah, the actual weight. It's still a heavy bird. And how long would it take you to charge those 8 batteries?
Well, right now, that's the video that's out on it. I have no need to contact them to harass their sales department on information like that because I don't feel that I would ever need that. I think to take that out to go shoot on the East River or the Hudson River might be a little bit much.
Yeah, yeah, it would. And I
So
typed in professional drones, flying drones, which is the name of the company. The
we have
flying drones is the name of it, or the name of the company that's producing it. Professional drones, and guess what comes up? DJI Mavic M210 and Retrieve 600.
what'd you put in?
Flying drones, professional drone, thinking that would bring it up. I'm
No, put
going.
in flying picture.
Oh, flying pictures, stupid.
Yeah, flying picture.
Where the hell I get drones from? Flying
Well,
pictures.
I guess I would point out the obvious elephant in the room. That drone's in excess of $200,000. Now, which one are you guys going to pony it up?
Only
What,
it
for one
up.
of those?
Paul, I thought you would donate half.
Oh no! That camera that you saw, that big camera alone, is $47,000.
Well, see, that's why we also mentioned that this drone is specifically for
Once,
Hollywood.
I
once
mean, I get
again,
it's nice. It's nice to wish, but
no, I'm just saying
I would like to see one fly over me.
I'm just talking about it because it exists.
yep.
It's
yeah,
nice.
yeah. And maybe in the future that will lead to a prosumer style drone in the
I
future.
doubt it. They call that the Inspire.
Yeah.
I call it the flying refrigerator because of the weight.
Yeah.
That baby dropped on somebody, it wouldn't just be a bump on the head, you know?
Yeah, you're right. Okay, Flying Pictures, the aerial filming specialist. If
Listen.
you have one of those Mission Impossible movies that you're trying to create, and I
Mhm.
go to their website, guess what? They have 2 people in a hot air balloon dressed in old vintage clothing with their sandbags on the side and everything on
Yeah,
their
I see that
homepage.
picture.
The filming specialist and our services. Our experienced team can provide a range of services to the film and TV industry, from complete aerial units, including helicopters, aircraft, drones, specialist pilots, award-winning cameramen, directors of photography, technicians, camera equipment, and ground coordinators, engineers, sequence coordination, and stunts.
Right.
And we do it all.
That's
Right.
a big contract there.
Now, I know some guys that would get so close to that hot air balloon, believe me, there'd be a stunt going on there.
Listen.
Once that thing hits the side of the balloon.
Anyway, you guys want to see,
Takes the
if you
drone
want to
right out of the
see
sky.
this particular drone and watch the video with sound and stuff like that. How much did you say it cost, Paul?
For that camera?
In excess of 200,000. If
Yeah.
you've never saw a $200,000 drone before, check out that link. Of
Well,
course,
the,
don't leave
the
the live
flying
stream.
passenger drones are in excess of that too.
Yeah.
Lotto win, I'd buy one, Big Matt says. Hey,
Mhm.
Phantom Hodges, I want
Don't,
video.
Oh, Roger
don't,
just said he's taking his brand new Mavic Air 2 out for his maiden flight. He'd see us later.
okay.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
Did
he
I
was
need,
going to take it out earlier, and all of a sudden a thunderstorm hit.
should I put on my smoking jacket and pull out a cigar? I hope he has a good flight. He should
Yeah, I
have
do
fun.
too. Because
He should have fun. I'm
he's like
glad.
a kid with a new toy,
So now what's he going to do with the minis?
He's going to keep them.
Okay. All
Kim
right.
will fly.
But you want to know
he-
what, Paul? You
Kim
know,
will
like
fly.
Paul, you know, like I do. Once he
Yeah.
flies that Mavic Air 2, he's going
Stop
to look at the
flying that.
mini every couple of weeks.
they'll be sitting on the shelf.
They'll be sitting.
Uh-huh.
Won't they?
He gave his
Hey.
spark to
Will Tim Jackson buy it for us? Orfaxis says.
You
All
know,
I could say is I wouldn't want to own something like that because when it broke, I'd have to sell the house.
well, can you imagine the cost just to buy flight insurance for it on a commercial job?
what, for that big drone?
Yeah.
Well, if you can afford that, you can afford the insurance.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah. Think about this.
And if you
Verify.
can't-
Think about this, Paul. Verify, the insurance app that you can,
Yep.
107 pilots can get insurance on the fly with. Okay. For a quarter of a mile to a half mile, no, from a quarter of a mile to a mile, they will insure you up to $1 million. And that's your personal drone, your Mavic Air, whatever you're using for a shoot. So that thing has to be insured for the price of a skyscraper
Yes.
or a jet plane.
Hmm.
$1 million would be chump change.
Now,
5
you know
mil,
what, Lawrence?
huh?
You said that they will insure
They will insure you up from a quarter
will
mile to a
insure-
mile
with what?
with your personal drone. Verify
Like the Phantom?
the app. Yes, your Phantom, your
That
Mavic
can
Pro,
insure
your
up to
Mavic Pro.
$1 million.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out how we can get this drone.
I didn't see where you were going. Now I got you.
Because if it goes down, not only will State Farm hook me up, but with the care refresh, we can get Phantom back and still pick up this
Herman, stop. The views and opinions that are heard tonight are not necessarily the views and
Hold on
opinions
a second.
of everyone on the panel tonight.
Then we could swing by State Farm and get a check.
And be insured up to $1 million, right? That would cover the price of it.
We can go drone shopping.
Shopping.
Hey, I wanted to ask you guys a question. We never hear anything about Elliot. What's he up to?
Oh,
He's-
Elliot's been taking pictures.
Elliot's into photography now. He's hanging out
Instagram.
with the photography buffs.
Yeah.
He takes phenomenal pictures. He does some modeling shoots, but there's a whole clique of them. You see a bunch of guys walk around the city with backpacks and cameras in their hands. He's probably in that group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In fact, the way we used to go have meetups, I found out these camera buffs are like, at 7 p.m. tonight is going to be the lunar orthodox something in the sky, and you can only see it at 7:01. And
They were always
3 hours ahead.
catch that damn duck.
Yeah.
With the Crayola
Peking,
colors on
what
it.
was it? The Peking duck or something
I
like
don't
that?
know what it was. It was some duck there that had some pastel colors on him.
Yes, it
They
was
were
some
all
kind of
lined up
fancy
at
duck
the.
that wound up in Central Park. Let me see if I could find pictures of it at Central
what, the
Park.
duck?
Exotic duck, yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, they were all lined up to get shots of that duck. So whatever is the hot spot, they're all.
Oh, it was
there.
a mandarin duck. MANDARIN.
Now, how different
bring
was
it to me,
that from the
please?
ones in the window over there in China?
You have to see this bird, Paul. I'm not into birds, but and they said this duck is actually making friends with the local ducks. Okay, I have to share this.
Yeah, but once you strip all the feathers off and you put that
It's still
orange stuff on them
duck.
and put them in the window.
This is it, Paul. This is the duck right here.
At the
Wow.
Chinese restaurant. What is the difference?
Thank you. This is a mandarin duck, and somehow it seems to have found its way to New York City, Central Park, and it hasn't left. So all of a sudden, photo people from all around the world are coming to see why this duck, how this duck got
Well, they
here,
came
and
here.
right, how it's here, and it's made its home here in Central Park. And because it is a duck from another part of the world, from what I understand, they can't catch it. They can't do nothing with it. And I don't know if it's on the endangered species list, so don't quote me on it. But this particular duck has had photographers come to New York just to film it, and now it's getting friendly with the local ducks. So they're wondering, I know man's concept of thinking. They're thinking, what happens if that duck breeds with another duck here?
Yeah.
What would it, you understand? So
Well,
they're
maybe
leaving
we'll
it
have more
alone.
pastel colored
It
ducks.
would be a NY Mandarin duck.
New York City Mandarin duck, right?
Yep.
Roasted, Blind Neil says roasted Mandarin duck with an orange sauce.
That's what I'm saying. What's the difference?
And all you would have the pretty feathers to make a hat.
Oh no, they stripped all of that off.
True. What's up, Tom? How are you, sir? The
My
lens
goodness.
capture. Well, all I know is it's interesting that that duck wound up there. They and if there were others, they could say it would be blown off course. So they don't know if someone had it as a pet, and someone said, "Oh no, you can get a fine for having that," and they released it,
Uh-huh.
or what? Good to hear, Tom. Good to hear. Glad you're doing well,
Okay.
and it's it's interesting. I'm just saying, to see something like that. And only in New York City would you see a mandarin duck in Central Park. I mean, you see homeless, you see the horses and buggies, and you see bike riders, skaters. So why not a mandarin duck from China?
Yeah.
Hey Lawrence, did you see the other thing where it had what I showed you? I sent you that video. We're talking about UAVs and high altitude platform stations
Yeah,
alliance.
give me a second to try and I can't pull
Yeah.
up the clip because of the source,
Well,
but I do remember I do remember looking at
yeah,
it
you
when
might want to turn the volume down too.
I
But
was at work today. I
is it they've teamed up to promote the use of high altitude solar powered um, autonomous aircraft
yeah.
to facilitate global research missions, communications, reconnaissance in the stratosphere. So these drones are going to operate in the stratosphere,
Yeah, they solar powered.
solar power.
I'm trying to find the clip now.
Now,
Here we
here's the
go.
one with what brought to my attention that thing that you had mentioned about with what was that with your man and his space program and his internet, because
Yeah,
they talk about near ubiquitous coverage,
like a satellite. That's
right?
what they
To
mean.
avoid ground clutter and latency, significant
Yeah,
latency.
they're
So
basically
basically, what they're going to say, because ubiquitous means that it's everywhere. It's here. It's there. It's everywhere.
right
So
because it flies so high,
right.
and
So
the range that it would cover would be the same as. In fact, they said these could be used as low altitude satellites.
yes, because I want to go into that because what they're saying is that UAVOS has the knowledge from this thing from over 1,000 hours of half flight testing at altitudes of up to 66,000 feet.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to bring up how I can
Now,
crop this picture. So give me a
uh,
second because I want it. I don't want the Mandarin duck. This is what I want. So let me see if I can. Oh, I didn't know I could snatch the tab and put
The
it on the
Mandarin duck
screen.
is number 3 on the Chinese order list, isn't it? I have a number 3, please.
Okay, let me see now if I can share the screen. It says whiteboard, iPhone, oh, here it is. This is it here. This is a picture of it. And what I'm actually doing is,
Yes, that's it.
yeah, this is it right here. I was trying to blow up the window. Uh, this is basically the plane. This thing can stay up in the air virtually for days at a time. Solar powered. They literally launch it from a truck. Okay. It basically has a motor control. Someone and of course someone pilots it. And I would believe you could probably do waypoints with it, but it would be doing this at 60 something
Well, it's
thousand
going to
feet.
operate autonomously.
Yeah.
Now, that brings me to this one. We have mentioned these
Let's
before.
stop this one here. Yeah.
Yeah, we have mentioned these before when we mentioned about that Swift company.
Yeah.
Yeah, what they're partnered with NASA and the that AIM Research Center,
Hey, Michael
because
Blade.
Swift had they just completed their first flight with their solar powered, which is the only one of its kind because it's U.S. made.
Oh, yes. That's another thing. The fact that this drone is
Well,
US
not that
made.
one, not that one. Swift.
Oh, Swift. That's right. That's right.
They,
Swift. So the company Swift
it's
does make.
actually it might be on that same video, but at the end.
It was. It
Um,
I think so.
yeah, they teamed up with NASA and they just completed their first flight. What I thought was interesting with that bird was it it's less than 180 pounds.
Yes. Less than 180 pounds, and the width of it is
72
really, really
feet,
wide.
72 feet.
Yeah.
He's able to operate up at 70,000 feet autonomously for over 24 hours of surveillance.
Right, because it stays in the air. That's a long damn flight time. Duck, 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 goose. Canadian goose. They won't let that poor Mandarin duck alone.
Oh yeah, the
But
poor
anyway, you guys can Google the Mandarin duck in Central Park, New York
yeah.
City.
Have fun with the duck.
Give me a second. I need to step away for about 3 to 4 minutes.
Okay.
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 I shall be right back.
But Paul, with all that stuff going on in our atmosphere, and them sending up satellites and now drones operating in the stratosphere and stuff like that. Whoo.
Well,
You
and
wonder why these kids are
of it
getting
is,
so big.
Herman, I agree. And the thing of it is those are just the things we know about.
Right.
How much more don't we know about? And if we did, do we really want to know about it?
That's why everybody that was going crazy about what were those drones flying over, and the FAA saying they don't know anything about
Colorado? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and now, and I looked at it realistically, like, if the military was up to something, would they come out and say, "Oh yeah, that was us. Don't worry about it. No, that was us." No. And if they did tell the FAA that it was them, would the FAA would the FAA come out and say, "Oh, don't worry about it. It was just the military. They were doing what they were doing their thing." No, they wouldn't. If it was something they did not want you to know about, no. But if it was somebody from out there, they definitely not going to tell you because they don't want people to panic.
Yep.
You know what happened? Well, we had a pandemic here in the country. Certain states had issues, and people ran to other states. Imagine if you told them that was UFOs.
Yep.
No, people wouldn't know how to handle themselves. So, Paul,
Yeah, that's the thing is, it doesn't take much to get the sheeple on a run.
Well, yeah, when it comes to something like that, that's why you can't, you couldn't, and I didn't know what anybody was expecting to hear after not hearing anything. You weren't gonna come out and hear, "Oh, don't worry about it. It was the military." They already said it wasn't them, so they don't. So if
Well,
it's them, they don't want you to know what they were doing.
even going back to Roswell, I think wasn't it President Jimmy Carter went in and said he's going to find out about it, and then the next thing he didn't says I have nothing to say about that.
Right.
So either he got his shit scared out of him, or something, maybe he had a conversation with an alien.
Well, a president is as good as his team of experts
Yep.
that are around him. He knows nothing about military or what's going on out there without the experts that have been there on the ground, and know how this thing is done. So I'm quite sure they were like, in the meeting at the round table, they were like, check this out. This is what it is, and this is what it is. And he was like, all right, no problem.
But I remember back in the 60s and 70s, remember when they used to have the lights going through the woodses at different places, and it was on the news and everybody was watching, and they were staking out the woods and see if they could catch those lights. And then they said, oh, it's just swamp gas. Forget about it.
Well, they still haven't found out what the lights were out in the Midwest either.
Nope.
Well, that's what we're just talking about.
Yeah,
And you're not going to, because it's either, once again, a government thing with the military, and it's something that they were doing that they don't want you to know about, or
You want to know how I believe it's a government thing?
or it was
Because
foreign, and
they don't want to
don't
scare
want you
anybody.
to know, right? They don't want to scare anyone.
Well, this is how I would honestly believe that it's a government thing, because there are a lot of missile silos out there, and you can't fly a kite in that area, nonetheless a damn drone. So the fact
and
that
it was a group of drones at that.
yes, it was a group of them. Some of them had different lights, different shapes.
Uh-huh.
So unless there's a drone company in the middle of somewhere saying send her up, and then pressing return to home when they get to a destination.
Or just to push the envelope, and I'm not saying I believe this, just like we send probes to other planets and they go out and they start look around, if there was life there and they saw those, they go, what the hell is that? Where'd that come from?
True.
You're right. That's why I said that. If that's what it was, they're not going to tell you that either.
Yeah.
This is true. But it would explain why now we have a fifth part of the military.
But you don't have to get that close.
We have a space force now.
Well, you don't have to get that close to see that.
Yeah.
Leave it. No,
Lawrence,
it's not ready.
If you want to promote the Space Force, knock yourself out. I mean,
Big Matt said it's over his pay grade.
What happened?
Big Matt says in the chat, over his pay grade.
So, with the Space Force, when the United States starts making X-Wing fighters to go after Darth Vader and them out there, I won't be here. I'm hoping not to be.
I'll be long gone. Yeah. That's going to be somebody else's problem in the future.
Yeah, I don't want no part of that. No, I'm good. But I would like to get a drone that looks like one that, if it flew like a DJI,
Well, somebody says that somebody's making bodies that you can put on different style DJI drones that fits over, and you use the drone underneath, and it looks like, all the different kinds of drones that you want.
Okay. That would be interesting.
We would be ignorant to believe that there isn't life on other planets. This is true.
I wouldn't make such a statement, because to say that, you would have to have some proof of it.
Well, life as we know it, but I think that Matt might be kind of right, because
as far
life doesn't have to be a humanoid.
No, I get that. They've found organisms in different places, but I'm just saying to you, as far as
intelligent life.
You're right. you know, you would never know. I would never know. You know,
But according to the people that
Tom
says
says, "Where's your sense of adventure, Herman?"
that we
oh
we
no.
that
Follow
we
what I'm about to
evolved.
tell you. I've listened, and as far as they have traveled, they haven't seen anyone. So anybody that's that far away, by the time they get here, I won't be here by the time they get here anyway.
It makes sense. That's true, considering they claim the closest galaxy is so many light years away, and
And
we can't travel at light speed yet. So unless we can send a robot, which is basically what we're doing, we're sending drones, we're sending probes out there. The last one we sent out was a car
and
with
to
a
be
dummy
honest
in it.
with you,
Turn it over.
to worry about intelligent life form coming here from another planet, to be honest with you, they would have to be a little bit less intelligent than us to see this and still come here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Captain Lawrence, I'm giving it to y'all. So you got some.
And I kind of feel like, Herman, why would they want to come here? They would watch and study us. Why are these people killing their planet and each other?
Shaking my head. That's all they would be tweeting.
I'm not going down there. You saw what happened in the 50s last time a ship crashed down there. I don't want to mention a small little town in Mexico or wherever it is, New Mexico.
Mm-mm. No, but yeah, that would be some stuff.
I'm here listening. I'm just off screen.
You're off screen. All right. Well, yeah, Paul. It was
Lawrence is getting dinner, I think.
oh,
No,
Oh,
either
I'm actually drinking a beer.
oh. Okay. Well, that's okay. We're almost coming up on a shot and a drop anyway.
No, we don't do.
Herman?
Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. You almost baited me, Paul. How can we think we are the smartest thing in the universe? This is true, because if we were
never
so
said that.
smart, we wouldn't be killing each other, ourselves.
Oh,
I'm
I
not even
never
going to say
said
each
that.
other. I'm going to say ourselves.
I never said that. I was making a joke about
Rodney
how
Bell, how
not
are you?
smart we are.
Rodney Bell, good evening. How you doing, my friend?
That if you mention intelligent life form would look here and see this and be like, you know what?
No, but Herman, you got to think of what level of intelligent life form.
Well, that's why I said it would be less than us because come here.
Yeah, because intelligent life may be something figuring out it has to kill something else to survive. No, we could go that. 45 thinks we are.
I thought that's what we were doing.
Well, it's 5:52, and
And what?
we need more drone news.
Oh yeah, well you remember Sheeble, the S-100 UAS copter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the camcopter S-100.
Yes.
Yeah, well they've with their partners Nordic Unmanned, they're now out there testing the ship emissions in the Danish waters.
Interesting.
Yes, for the Danish Maritime Authorization and the Danish Environmental Protection Agency. They're out there testing the sulfur content to make sure that the measures meet up to the EU's rules on government on sulfur emissions, and the measurements will be transmitted in real time to the data station, or to the data center, actually. So that's what Sheeble's out there actually doing with the camcopter S-100 UAS. You remember
Tom says he's got some drone news if you're interested.
What do you got?
I don't know.
Send him a link.
Okay, I can do that. Quite doable. Give me a second, Tom. And I will do so. Invite, copy invitation.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. You remember when you were talking about Sheeble, how that he worked. Hey, and actually, you know who else had a story with them? Sean from Geeks Viner had a story with them once on another mission that they were doing. But we mentioned them before. They were working on the Asian waters because of a toxic spill.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were doing some testing with that drone. It's the one that looks like a helicopter.
I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, it looks like a mini. It looks like a gas powered version of a helicopter.
It's a pretty good sized bird.
Okay, Tom, I sent it to your. You haven't sent your message. Why haven't I sent it? Okay, there we go. There you go, Tom. Cut the fire off.
Uh-oh. You need an extinguisher?
No, not yet.
Call
My daughter's
911.
just making 2 burgers for dinner. And if I can smell they're done here, they're definitely done over there. Yo, why you hit me in the back of my head, man? No, y'all have to deal with that.
What's that smoke?
Papa
What's that
Bear's
smoke
getting in
coming
trouble.
over your shoulder, Lawrence?
Papa
What happened?
Bear's getting in
What's the
trouble.
smoke coming over your shoulder?
Yeah.
No, they. Okay, what's next?
I don't know. You're the one in the hot seat.
No.
No, you were inviting Tom in because he said
I
he had.
sent him. I sent
I had
him.
mentioned to
I
you
sent it through Messenger, Tom.
what Shebel was out there doing with that the Nordic unmanned and the Shebel S.
Well, supposedly they're
100
using that little mini
camcopter.
copter type thingy for reconnaissance and search and rescue and stuff like that. From what I had saw in the video.
Well, they were actually using it to test emissions from the ships for the
Oh
sulfur,
yeah.
to make sure that it didn't exceed the the EU's rules.
For sulfur emissions.
Yeah.
That ships give off a lot of
That's what
sulfur and
they've been doing that.
the fuel that they burn. I didn't know that until I saw the video.
Yeah, they've been doing that. Tom, you're a little crooked there.
Hold on, he can't hear you yet.
There you go.
Audio's kicking in. There you go, Tom. For some reason, I think he does it to mess with us. He comes on cam like this. What's up, Tom?
You know, I'm trying to get the phone to turn around and play nice.
Oh, okay.
And of course, it wants me to hold it in portrait mode first before it'll log on. And I'm like,
see,
really? It's only an iPhone 11 Max. Really? Come on.
That's because it has the letter I in front of it.
Yes, I know.
Well, you know,
that's because I've been coddled my whole life. Okay. I'm doing my best to stay away from Android.
Yeah, but Tom, nobody's had to hold you upright.
Yeah, exactly.
Tom, I wasn't saying there was no way there was no other life form out there. I was just making a knock on us and how we conduct things. That if there was intelligent life form out there to come here, they'd have to be a little bit below us to want to come here after watching this. Because if you notice, we only go to places where there's nobody hanging out.
For now.
You have to question the intelligent life form on this planet, right? That's the fundamental question you were asking.
Right.
Okay.
So
and I mean, we're covering the whole spectrum on this planet alone. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I had said, well, that's another one, please. I had said earlier in the chat, we better hope there's a prime directive, okay? That they come here
and leave us the hell alone,
and they don't. Well, he shows up on the doorstep right now. I don't know that we have a chance. So that would be my concern, unless they're truly unless they are so evolved that they don't need our resources. They don't need us to do anything but function as a society. That I would welcome.
Well,
so the only thing I was going to bring up as far as news, and it's not news to everyone, but there's a product out there called PhotoKite, And where it's significant is this is a device basically that on a piece of apparatus or a vehicle, you can open up a drawer and this thing will launch out of the drawer. And it's actually a tethered UAV that can stay aloft for an indefinite period of time.
Because it's tethered.
It's tethered. It's tethered. And the nice thing about it, I mean, from like a public safety or a commercial standpoint is that there's no real requirements for Part 107 attached to this device.
Get out of here.
And that those waters will be tested real soon, believe me. So, you know, there's some speculation as to whether it does actually skirt those requirements. I know on the public safety side it does. But on the commercial side also, it might have a foothold in that arena because, first off, it can't fly away from you.
Right.
True.
It is.
And it's definitely line of sight being tethered.
Yes, it's definitely line of sight. Again, they've started with a quad, but they're going to a hexa or an octo configuration. So there is redundancy built in. So if there's a motor failure or something like that, and they can equip these with thermal imaging cameras, with zoom cameras. But if you're interested in looking at it, the company name is Photo Kite.
So do you think this is a direction that fire department and law enforcement might want to look into?
Well, actually, Lawrence, to be honest with you, remember the company we mentioned that's in the Navy Yard?
I definitely question.
Yeah.
They actually, the police department actually used their tethered drone at the Super Bowl.
That's
okay.
Correct. That's correct. So,
hey,
so
what's
yes,
up?
It is
Justin,
something. It is
Geek
something
Fauna.
that we're looking at, and it's something that again can be equipped on the top of a response vehicle, and when you arrive at the scene, basically the top opens up and it deploys.
Yep.
So if you can put this thing 100, 150, 200 feet, you now have a new point of view. It's like all us drone aficionados have been saying a long time, especially on the photography side, right? You got a whole new POV. And especially on the public safety side, you're talking about a greater amount of situational awareness is available to you as well. And now imagine at a scene, if you have multiple photo kites up in the sky at one time, you're painting a huge picture. Now, on the law enforcement side, I don't know how they would leverage it on the first responder, fire, and EMS. There's definitely significant use for it, but it doesn't negate the need for a free flying platform as well. Like
you said, it's called Photo Kite.
Can search and rescue. Can't use this with an F. FOTOKITE.
FOTOKITE. I see some videos on this.
Yeah, there's some good stuff out there.
Okay.
And again, it's basically a device with a tablet.
It's small.
So it doesn't require it's small, okay? It can be equipped with both RGB and thermal imaging cameras.
Okay.
And basically, it's a tableted device that the first responder just grabs the tablet and is ready to go.
While you keep talking, Tom, I'm just going to put up a screenshot of it.
Sure.
Just to show really quick. This is it right here in his hand. And I would think something that would be tethered would be a little bigger, but
that's a very, very early version of it. I would recommend that you go.
I do see Phi, yes.
I would say go to the website photokite.com and put up a screenshot of that, Lawrence. That's probably
that's what I'm going to check out right now. That's actually what I'm going to do right now while you guys are talking.
So, it's something that I could see even being used at public events.
Mm-hmm. This impressive.
Okay.
Except all. cookies.
Okay, hold on a
Oh,
second.
now
We
I got a picture of it. I got a picture of it. Hold on one sec. Now I can share the screen. This is it right
it looks like Paul's shopping on eBay right now.
here. Right there with a fishing
That's it.
line.
Actually, I almost bought one of those about 3 years ago.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because it has an automatic. It feeds out the line as you bring it down.
Yes, yeah, it's an automatic tethering device, right?
Yep.
And,
You
and
Field
you know,
tested.
with a ruggedized
Yep.
And here's the
tablet.
box. Here's the box you were talking about.
And notice it's already red. Like
Yes.
that?
Yes. That's interesting. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna post a link so people want to see this particular type of drone. I like it. I seriously like it.
Now think about the possible uses here. We're not just talking, you know, I'm looking
Hey,
at
magnetic.
it's probably more than just public safety, but think about event promoters and stuff like that, and being able to put these up around the venue.
You want to do
You
a
know,
head count? You want to do
you
an
could do a
average
head,
count?
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Or think about the farmer
Mhm.
driving the Jeep Cherokee out to the pasture, throwing this up in the air and doing a cattle count. Okay.
Right.
So, you know, that's what has to be looked at here. And it has been something that in the public sector, especially in public safety, where new tools or devices are created, short time after that, you know, they have wider use than just in the public safety realm. So I look at this stuff with an eye on both how can it be used for quality of life and how could it be used outside in the private sector.
Well,
So
they say that there are companies out there. I'm trying to word it right. There are companies out there that have created a drone in a box, but they were
Yeah.
basically for security systems.
Right,
Meaning,
right.
but the box was like 6 feet by 4 feet.
Well, look at
You
this
know,
thing. This thing can stay up continuously. You just need that
you need a power supply. Right.
right? Now, it really has to be tested for duration because you don't know how long the motors will last before overheating. But the nice thing about this is this will fly in rain. I mean,
And,
you know, I would,
and it's not $100,000.
no. I mean, it's something that you could look at as an agency. Say, you know, you got a fire EMS agency, and you think about when you're building new vehicles, could you incorporate something like this into the vehicle? In fact, there's one fire apparatus manufacturer right now who's actually offering it as an option.
And it's a waterproof casing.
On the truck.
Waterproof
The
casing.
casing
right.
is waterproof. The drone is waterproof. The tether is. The entire system is waterproof.
And actually, the case itself, when it opens up, it has strobe lights around the lid of the case, so that it illuminates that launch and
Identify.
land point.
Right.
So people don't wind up getting in the way of that. Okay. You know, no, I would still be concerned about high wind, and I would still actually, if it were being used in the public safety realm, I still would want the pilots to be 107s or very well trained first responders, because you know, if you get a windy situation or something like that, you got to know when to bring it down. Now they are building certain safeguards into the system where if it senses more than X degrees of deflection, that it will go and land itself.
And it's saying that it says right here that the photokite, you can use a tablet or computer which runs the photokite live app. So
actually, yeah, if you scroll on that website, you'll see halfway down the page. You'll see what looks like a Panasonic. It looks like a Panasonic ruggedized tablet.
I was looking at the screen. That's exactly what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah.
Because there was a company called Easy Aerial. They were doing something similar to that.
It's very similar, right, Herman? Very similar to that. This company, Photokite, has gotten some significant traction. And again, like I said, there's a major fire apparatus manufacturer out there who's already teamed up with them. And like I said earlier, already including it as an available option today if you're building
Well,
a fire truck,
well, Tom, I'm
right?
I'm still scrolling on the page, and here's a little bit of what it can do: fire response, search and rescue, post-fire inspection and monitoring, traffic management, and infrastructure and event security.
Right?
So if you see a
Yeah,
brawl in the middle of a crowd in section E6, you know where to dispatch your security to.
exactly. Exactly. And when you talk about industrial security, even, right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
yeah, those boxes and we're only talking about months ago were enormous and high cost. This
Here's
is a lot of,
something
yeah.
key. Sorry to interrupt you. Very key. Low training threshold.
Well,
Well,
Meaning,
yeah,
meaning,
funny that you mentioned that, Tom, because even like take the Tesla for instance. Before it as an actual car on the street, it was so damn expensive that it was something that was thought never to be on the street. So as time goes on, that technology can be made smaller
right.
and more cost effective to the consumer, even to the public sector. But yeah, that drone in the box thing that we were all looking at and stuff, even that and stuff in time will reduce itself
Well,
and
true,
cost and everything.
true.
Herman, think about this. If the automotive industry moved as quick as technology has moved, we'd be driving at the speed of light, getting 187,000 miles a gallon. Okay.
Mhm.
True,
So
but they still
if
want
you
to use.
just look at how technology is advanced, and it's advancing exponentially. Now, you see something like this, great, because you have tethered power. But look, the battery technology has improved dramatically.
Yes.
That, I think, is the real issue, right? That you brought up, Herman,
Right. We
with the
actually had a
Tesla.
whole show about that
Yeah.
and how
Here's
from
what you were
just five
talking
years
about.
ago, why drone delivery wouldn't work.
Here's what you were talking about, Tom. They
Yeah.
Yeah.
come with a kit that's deployable on top of a vehicle.
It's already mounted on the vehicle. It's tied into the vehicle's power system. Okay.
Right.
So as long as the vehicle's running and as long as the vehicle has fuel, it can stay up in the air. Again, I question, and has to be tested in actual conditions, and we haven't done that in my realm, but how long will those motors survive? Okay,
True.
with continuous operation.
I
You
would
being an FPV pilot, you know that.
I would naturally assume. It's funny you mention that because that's how I'm thinking about it. I would naturally assume something. Now the site says, end quote, technical highlights, 24-hour operation, which
Right.
means if it can be in the air for 24 hours, I'm pretty sure those motors are rated to do a lot more than they can, and to keep from overheating, they use less power, but it has a maximum height of 150 feet.
Right.
Thermal camera, RGB camera with 3-axis gimbal,
Mhm.
and the fact that it's 1.2 kilogram. I don't know metric, but
Well,
That's going to be about 3.5 pounds.
well, you'd be
aside
surprised.
the weight of a Phantom 4 Pro.
You'd be
Yeah.
surprised
Yeah.
how long the motors on your consumer drone will actually burn for continuously. We just don't do it,
No,
you know.
DJI does it.
And
Herman, you
know
pointed
what I'm
out.
saying to you, but we as the user of the product don't do it. But these companies have to do it to put them through these tests. It's just it's just like car racing. The
Yeah.
learning curve that they learn on their product that they actually put out there is based upon what they can accomplish from racing. In
Well,
the
Yeah.
it's
automobile
funny
industry.
you mentioned that, Herman, because you mentioned to me, and I didn't it didn't dawn on me, but at B&H, a place where they have a drone cage,
Mm-hmm.
that drone is in the air every time somebody says, "Let me check it out." And even when nobody's there, a guy's going to cage and fly it.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So and you don't expect to run a DJI drone for 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day.
We can't afford the batteries.
Yeah, you're right about that. You're
Now, the
100%.
only thing I think
Hey,
that
Global
needs to
Drone,
be
Hey,
improved
and
on
global
this
Eat
kind of
drone.
Podcast.
device
Mm-hmm.
is the current IP rating on this is IP55. which it has to be a little bit higher to
Mhm.
really survive in like a downpour, so to speak.
Right.
Okay. So I think they're working on that. But as far as dust and stuff like that, you do have to worry about particulate matter, especially if you're flying around say a fire, right?
Mhm.
Today, there was a train derailment in Tempe, Arizona. Not just a derailment, but a bridge collapse as well. So
Okay.
and part of the train was carrying lumber. So you know how that kind of fire is going to go for a while.
Right.
So you get a lot of smoke and soot in the air, and that could impact something you have up as well. I was surprised that there were no drones flying.
Mhm.
Apparently, Tempe is not up to speed when it comes to using drones for public safety
I'll be
purposes.
right back.
Well, how humid
Uh,
was it?
Well, no, in Tempe, Arizona, there is
Oh
no
no, no
humidity.
humidity. No, yeah.
No humidity there at all.
Yeah.
But you know, that's a classic example for using a drone,
Right.
because now, you know, part of the fire was mid-span on this bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't get anybody over there to see what was going on. Hey, you put a drone up with a thermal imaging camera. Now you can see where the hot spots are. Now you can see
Right.
what's actually burning, because the nice thing about thermal imaging is you can see through smoke, okay, where a visual camera can't.
Exactly.
So once the smoke obscures the scene,
Okay,
you don't know
Paul.
what you're
Later.
dealing with, okay? So, you know, that's the nice thing about this kind of technology, especially with thermal imaging capability. What I also like about the photo kite is, remember that the firefighting community is not the most gentlest of people handling stuff. I've often said we can break just about anything. The nice thing about this is the entire frame of the photo kite is basically called, I believe, take the lead from the FPV community on that, because UFPVs love to crash into stuff.
Not purposely. Not
I
purposely.
never said that. I never said that.
What's up,
Okay.
Justin? No, I know. I'm just putting that statement out there, at least for me. any crashes that I have done were not intentional, but
Yeah.
it and it's a learning curve, you know.
Uh-huh.
You see a baby walk, and then what do? They plop down on their butt for security, you
Lawrence.
know, and then they'll get up and
Lawrence.
walk a little bit more. You know, that's pretty much the drone community.
Lawrence, is that why
Yeah.
that guy crashed that $200 and something thousand race car into the wall? For security purposes?
Was that
Well-
head on or rear end?
Well, no comment. Okay. What's up, Justin?
Hey,
Yeah.
Justin.
How are you, Justin? I'm letting you know now. I may need a backup print,
Uh-oh.
Hero 5 print. With the I'm just letting you know now, only because I've been flying one bird more than others, and it's a matter of time before I take out that mount for my GoPro.
Lawrence, did you see Ken Herring crash into that pole? That
Yes. That's the only time I watch Ken. That's the only time I watch Ken Herron, when he's flying FPV.
Yo, that was a crash and a half.
That was a smash because he hit it
Well,
so
that's
hard.
when
He
he
hit that
originally
pole.
did it.
Dude, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but Ken Herron has learned to fly FPV, and let's just say his last video, it shows him crashing. He hit the pole so hard, the GoPro landed back about 25, 30 feet from where he hit the pole at.
It
So,
bust through and dislodged.
good move, Tom.
I'm sorry, I didn't even realize.
No,
Forrest.
that's okay. For right now, Herman's not monetized, but in the future, when he does become monetized, if anyone plays back the video, that was a good move.
It
So don't even
dislodged.
worry about it. Right now, YouTube is very lax as far as what they're doing.
Yeah, it dislodged this whole GoPro, the whole mount, everything right off the drone.
Yeah,
The FPV camera was smashed. I think the lens came off.
yeah, yeah. And that's hard to do because the lens here, when he crashed it, you see this lens? Okay, dead center. This whole cover came off, and all you saw was a circle going to the sensor.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Stepping off. One
And
second.
the what do you call it was clean off of it, the GoPro mount.
Yeah, the GoPro mount was kind of hurt after that hit. It's all about sending it. I agree with you, Hadley.
On YouTube
Unfortunately, here,
podcast right now. But I got to take that shirt off.
hopefully, Tom, I'm going to mute you really quick. Can you mute Tom, or so when he comes back, you just tell him to unmute? I don't have that control. So Justin, I got a 2-minute, listen closely. I got a 2-minute song that I'm going to play while I'm flying. And it's in a spot that we may have to travel to. The problem is it would have to be really, really early, but we'll talk about that. We will talk about it. You know, it's all about finding new spots, remember? I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm sorry.
I got a new spot.
No, I'm not trying to start nothing here. So let's leave that alone. Let's leave that. But Tom, I'm glad you had mentioned this particular drone because I had knew nothing about it. And being that you're in the fire department area, I like this. It's a hexcopter, 6 rooftop box. They have a rooftop box, they have a transport case, and then they have a tray mount. All three
Right.
of which you can I might as well show it while I'm talking about it. What the hell? All three of which, the rooftop box right here, you put it on the top of your vehicle and you can take off. And then they have a transport case that you just place on the ground and you can
Right.
take off. And then they have a tray mount. The
I
tray
like
mount
that
is
picture
probably
that they show.
you would probably put the tray mount on top of a level surface.
Well,
Mhm.
think about it on a piece of fire apparatus. You have the compartments on the side. You open up
Right.
one of those compartments, pull out this tray,
Yeah,
and it takes up
okay.
off of there. Okay,
Right.
and that allows. That's a lot easier on a large piece of apparatus because that you don't have to climb on top of the apparatus to service it, right? And if you have problems, you can change it out. With the transport case, you basically got to come with like a Honda generator, a little Honda generator, plug it in to the transport case to keep it powered.
Tom, this is basically an FPV bird. I'm just letting you know. I'm going through the
Yeah.
specs right now.
Well, Lawrence,
And
that's why I was looking at the picture there. I was looking at it with the way they show it on top of this guy's car. It looks like, oh, the average Joe can have this.
It's not, but I
I'm
let
about
you
to go
know.
outside and wire my
But
case to the top of my car.
the reason I'm saying that it is an FPV bird, believe it or not, and not so much like zoom zoom whatever. It comes with a ground station. Now, those of you who don't know what a ground station is, it's most imperative that when you're doing search and rescue, movie shoots, professional shots, if you have a ground station, and we experienced this, Herman, on Governor's Island back when you could fly. There was a camera crew, Tom, on Governor's Island that had an Inspire 2, Inspire 1, whatever it was, and the pilots were in one spot, and the ground station was on one of these little electric carts.
Right.
And we had issues flying.
Like mapping.
We had issues flying
Well,
because of the ground station. Now,
yeah.
ground station would guarantee sales for this because it means you're creating your own network for that bird to fly in.
Well, again, I'll take it to the next step, right? As technology continues to advance, we're putting cradle point modems on every piece of rolling stock where we're creating our own mesh network, basically.
Well, you're
Okay.
getting ready, but
So this
that's
data is
because you,
just flowing.
but that's because you're getting ready to transition to remote ID.
No, negative. We're doing it
No?
because the amount of data now that needs to be transmitted back and forth between scenes, vehicles, dispatch has outgrown the RF frequencies, those old analog frequencies, right? So now we got to rely on digital, and the old analog signals, you still want them to carry voice transmissions. You still want to hear that Mayday call, you know,
Right.
somebody needs help. But you want to be able to, now think about it. If these things are flying at the scene and you have
Right.
other companies responding, other fire companies responding, in that rear cab where 4 or 5 firefighters are sitting and they're rolling to the job, wouldn't you like to be able to broadcast and simulcast that video to them so that when
Yes.
they arrive
Yeah,
on
live.
scene, they're more situationally aware than they ever have been before?
Well,
Right.
And that makes the difference of going home at the end of the tour.
let
Okay.
let me rephrase it then. As far as remote ID, it's not geared towards, but as soon as remote ID does kick in, you would already be under that qualification of remote ID because you're creating your own network, and
Yes.
that's where
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
going with remote ID.
Yeah. Yeah. But now one of the things, like when you were talking about ground stations, when I hear ground stations, I think of, and Herman mentioned mapping. I think of RTK, or what's known as real-time kinematics.
Yes.
Right.
And there are Phantom 4 RTK devices. Matrices use RTK. So basically what it is you have two distinct antennas on the device. Now, the Phantom 4 RTK looks like a camel because it's got a hump on the top. But what it actually is, it's two drones. It's two GPS antennas stacked, and then you have a ground station. Now the ground
Hey,
station,
Newfound.
you actually add a SIM card or multiple SIM cards into the ground station, and then what you basically have done is you're actually also enlisting the cellular network to provide you positioning data. Okay. Now when we connect in our DJI drones, right, it looks like we can connect up to 21 to 23 different satellites, right? And of course, if we have more than 11 satellites, we have more stable flight. But now think about it. If you took a Phantom 4 V2, we'll say, right?
Right.
And a Phantom 4 RTK, put them both up in the sky. Now, when you're looking at the monitors, the video looks stable on both of them. But if you take the naked eye and look at them, you'll notice the one with RTK is not moving, or moving very minimally,
Get
where
out of
the other
here.
one is bouncing around the sky a little. But you look at the video, it looks great. Now think about working in the canyons of Manhattan with drones and the emissivity you have of signals bouncing off of buildings and the close proximity you have. So
I'm
why
trying to think of the
that's why
scientific
you
term
use
for that.
RTK. It's known as real-time kinematics. That's what RTK stands for. Okay, and you can look that up. It's very in depth. Okay, but now when you talk about mapping, if you want precision mapping, you're using RTK.
Right.
So you set up this ground station, and remember how satellites work and how signal positioning works. You're looking to triangulate signals. And the more triangulations
Multiple
you can
times.
achieve and stack,
Yeah.
the more precise that data is. Okay. So instead of a Phantom 4 bouncing around maybe 3 or 4 feet in either direction, plus up and down across all axes, an RTK is moving fractions of an inch. Okay. Now, when you have something like a Matrice 210 RTK up in the air, you don't want that big slushy bird bouncing around in the sky. You want it as stable as
Especially
possible.
when you're doing inspections on the wire or something.
Exactly. Or think about it. With the city of New York, you have council members that are trying to promote the use of drones for facade inspections, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
you know, all the scaffolding you see around the city, you know what expense that is. And that's why you do have collapses and building facades falling, because, you know, the building owners know that it's a great deal of expense to go through those
To hang a
inspections.
guy off of
Right.
the side of a building to look at.
Yeah, and to
Yeah,
do that,
I
and
get
they
that.
sometimes don't get it done, and as a result, people get hurt
Yeah,
because
but
Sometimes,
they
shit
most of
play.
the
falls.
time.
You know,
Yeah, but they
yeah,
play the
well,
scaffold game to get around having to keep up on repair.
Yeah, but how many
well,
places in New
well.
York
Sometimes
City
the
have
scaffolds
life?
will stay up
But
indefinitely, right?
how many places in New York City have lifetime scaffolds where the
But that's what we're
buildings are
saying.
falling?
They play the scaffold game for how
Yeah.
long to keep it there.
Well, again, there's you know what? There's a lot of monetary incentive not to do that, because these places where you see the scaffolds up for very long times, they're paying fines because those scaffolds are up longer than the stated period. And even with renewals and everything else, they're paying big bucks. You know, you could
As opposed to the
achieve.
rent that they're collecting for the taxes that they're paying.
Well, also think about it, Herman, right? You're putting people up to view these facades and the building structure, and we're nothing but subjective animals. We see what we want to see when we want to see it,
Right.
instead of putting up a drone with precision, okay, lenses, okay,
Mm-hmm.
measured distances, things like that, where now you can precisely see how wide that crack is, okay,
Yeah.
whether it,
Yeah.
and then with thermal imaging, okay, you can blast stuff with different, you know, a puff of cold air and see what kind of penetration you're getting across something. And no human eye is going to be able to do that with any reasonable certainty. And now you have uh, using technology actually to achieve the same thing at a fraction of the cost, and therefore you can use it at a higher frequency and actually save yourself from repairs, costly
Mm-hmm.
repairs in the future. Just like the roofing industry, right? And just like the solar technology industry using these birds for the same purpose. They're
Right.
saving a fortune by doing it this way, and they're getting more precise data as a result of it too. Now,
Yeah.
I bored
Yeah.
everybody because we're not talking about the fun stuff like FPV stuff.
Oh no. I like talking about these subjects because they come up over and over and over and over again, and then what I notice with a lot of things, and then every subject, things will come up over and over and over, and people, like you say, there's the boring stuff, but then when it comes to fruition, they be like, "Wow, where'd this come from?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We only talked about it 42 times. It only was in the
Right.
news like
You
50
remember
times.
when they were talking about Lance? Remember
Right.
Lance?
Yep.
They were
Yep.
at the symposium. They said we're going to incorporate a system that lets you know no matter where you are, if you can fly and or what altitude you can go to. Look at Lance. And believe it or not, Lance is almost outdated because they're getting ready to
Oh, it's not going anywhere.
well, right.
No,
It'll be
no.
incorporated into
Yeah,
UTMs.
UTM, right? And you know what? The last place for Lance to get to is right here in New York City, right?
Wonderland.
Of
Because
course.
of our
Of
tin ceiling,
course.
okay, our tin ceiling of Class B. You know, that's what we call it. We call it a tin ceiling because there's always a plane over you someplace, right?
Right.
True.
But I'll tell you, if you go out to the Southwest and you plug in, you can be by, go into Lance, say, hey, I'm going to fly here and here, and about, I don't know, 20 seconds, maybe 45 seconds later, I got authorization and up my bird goes,
Right.
and then you incorporate that with your insurance carrier like Skywatch IO, and Skywatch just clicks right in and goes, oh, you got authorization. Good. We just dropped your premium by another $10 for this hour, so all that
Tom,
technology is
Tom,
working hand in hand
you're
together.
making
Yeah.
me smile right here, but that's to come. You're making me really happy
You
with
know
all
what's funny?
that. We can only wish.
Well, yeah, as
nowadays,
long as you stay in town, yes, you're right.
nowadays you go out and fly one battery and go home after all of that setup and contact and everything like that. and I'm flying all the batteries I got before I leave.
Well, you know what? When you first looked about this, right? And it even came down, when we all started in this arena, it was like, oh, what you had to go through just to get the bird up. Now it's like nothing. You get your bird up 1, 2, 3. Now you start layering these things on, and you go, oh man, I don't want to have to do this, do that. But before you know, it's second nature.
Well,
right?
but you,
Using
I agree. I agree.
lands
But you have to admit, Tom, that
when it only takes 20 seconds.
it's specifically designed for the person that's seriously into the hobby and or seriously a 107 pilot.
In 20 years, you're gonna have a headset and a mic.
I
fly
tell
your
you,
drone.
I
Lance
say
works
3.
nicely for
Herman, I say 2
recreational.
or 3 years, Herman. You have a
Yeah,
headset
you're not
and a
that
mic,
far off,
and
Herman.
you're
Right.
I'm ready for takeoff, and you're cleared for takeoff, etc. Just like at an
Well,
airport in
it's
real time.
gonna be basically you're on the headset and you're gonna say, I have information, Juliet, because you got your weather, you got your
Mhm.
area information. So you're attesting that you are aware, you finished your pre-flight, and then the bird will take off.
Right.
And then
Yes.
everybody's absolved of liability except you.
And hopefully,
Right.
but hopefully by then you'll have, like in the UK, you will have to take a test before you get your 107.
Oh,
No,
well,
not the test. You
you'll
would have to take
a test for
as a
recreational.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, recreation.
as a hobbyist. Correct. As a
Canada too.
hobbyist.
It's
I'm
Canada.
so sorry. We
Yeah.
need that.
Well, you pick these things up out of Best Buy, and before they get home, they already have a battery charged. Okay.
Well, honestly, everybody says that they pick on Best Buy with that. But what's the difference between Best Buy and the DJI store?
You gotta wait. That's the difference. Okay.
Well,
Usually,
no.
if you buy the drone, I'm not talking about the one store on the planet you can walk into besides LA. I'm talking about, look, when you buy a drone online, you're all pumped, you're all excited. So most people then turn around and go to YouTube and they ingest every little bit of knowledge they can, whether it's right or wrong.
Being delivered. Yes,
Well,
you're
while
right.
it's being
You're
delivered.
right.
I bought this here out of Best Buy. And the first thing I did was went to YouTube to find out what the hell is it. I knew what it was, yes, but do I know what it really is? No.
Well, let me ask you a question. Daddy didn't buy that for you, right?
No.
So that was your money out of your pocket.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why you did the intelligent thing. Okay? Remember, intelligence is at a premium, Herman, right? We all agree to that.
And being drone pilots from New York, I agree with that 1000%.
Oh, you ain't kidding. We got a cross section of the population, right? Okay. All spectrums, and you have to make your announcement about not all views are okay.
Yes, the views and opinions that are heard tonight are not necessarily the views and opinions of everyone on the panel and or in the chat.
Sure
but
they
facts.
What they are.
And
agree, but we do.
Now here's something, Tom, I want to ask you. How do you deal with people that say, "Oh, you live in New York? You can't fly drones in New York." How do you deal with that?
I tell them, of course I don't fly in New York. Who would be crazy enough to fly in New York? I keep that stuff to myself. No, I honestly, I say there are legal spots to fly. I'm not the drone police. Please don't fly in Manhattan, and be smart. That's what I normally say. Okay. And I found most, look.
I'm going to salute you with a puff off my inhaler.
Thank you for that. I look at it this way. Is there an abrogated law that prevents you from taking off anywhere in the city? Yes. That was because in 1947, they were worried about the Jetsons, and they were worried that everybody was going to have a rooftop platform to take their auto flying car off from. Okay. And then, of course, when that law was going to be ready to be repealed, then there was the incident on top of the Pan Am building, which is no longer the Pan Am building.
Yep.
Okay.
Life building.
Right. So those things coupled together kept
But
that
you're
law
you're
on the
talking,
books since
yeah,
1947.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay. Is it a legitimate law? I mean, I think it's going to
You're
be
talking the
tested in the
blimp
courts
incident,
real soon.
Tom.
No,
You're
the
talking the blimp.
helicopter crashed on the top of the
I
Pan Am.
remember that one, but I also remember a
That's what
blimp
he's talking
incident
about.
here in New York that's supposed to predate that.
Well, there were several actually,
Well,
Lawrence.
don't forget about
Okay,
the
there were several incidents before that. So the public was, yeah, we can't allow this to happen. The city's too dense, and uh, right or wrong, there are sections of the city that are way too dense for a hobbyist to really fly. Okay,
Yeah.
we we have to acknowledge that. But there are also plenty of green space in the city that should not present a
Mm-hmm.
complete prohibition of being able to fly.
I agree. The problem is when you have places like where's that park in Brooklyn, Herman? Where you can only go straight up. What's the name of that park? Oh my God!
Oh, you
It's the
talking
only
about
airfield,
Forest Park?
AMA airfield in New York City.
Forest
Oh
That's
Park?
no, you're
Forest
talking about
Park.
Forest Park. That's in my
Yeah,
backyard here.
dude,
Forest
dude,
Park.
Yeah,
dude, dude. The only
and
thing
that's
you can
only
do
in
in
the
Forest
that.
Park is fly in a circle or go straight up.
Well, again, it was one of those control line fields, and a very
Yeah,
small one, by the way.
yeah.
You had to shorten your line in half to fly there.
You're
We're
right.
talking about during and if you fly there in the fall in the winter,
Mm-hmm.
yes, you can see where your bird goes. But if you fly when there's leaves on the tree,
Yeah.
you barely
Forget
have
about
any
it. Yeah.
the sunshine
oh, we've been there.
you can see. So yeah, very first place I ever flew
Big
a drone was
Big
Forest
Matt
Park.
goes, every building in Manhattan, in lower Manhattan, is over the 400-foot legal height limit. This
Well,
is
think about
true.
it. 400 feet is 38 stories tops.
Yep.
Okay. Now,
38
in the
point.
city of New York, there are over 18,000 classy buildings that are over that height.
Now, see
Can
that
you
fact,
imagine that?
that fact I didn't know.
18,000. Okay.
Wow.
It's an incredible number. You wouldn't even think that it was possible, but it is.
Yeah.
That is
And
an
now these
incredible
buildings,
number because I'm going over Manhattan in my mind, and I see it riding in from the train from where I live, and I see it in real time. And 18,000, and we're not. Are you including Long Island City, downtown Brooklyn, etc.?
yeah,
Okay, okay. I could
yeah,
see that. I
including
could seriously see
all
that.
five boroughs, including all five. Think about how expensive real estate is. So, what do you think airspace is worth, right? You have shorter buildings that have been turned into taller buildings in this city
True.
Right.
because
Yeah.
of the commodity of space, right?
Yeah.
So, you figure you got about 10 to 11 feet per story. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of buildings that don't say they're that tall because they consider mechanical spaces not being floors. So there's a lot
Elevator
of
rooms, etc.
workarounds to code out there.
Elevator rooms.
Elevator
Yeah, I
rooms,
got you.
ventilation rooms. Well, if you look at some of those
Aerial
big skinny
antennas.
buildings, they're over specific code requirements or zoning requirements,
Mm-hmm.
but they got around it because those floors aren't listed on an elevator. Okay.
Right. Now,
So,
Lawrence, do you remember the
you
building?
you
Yeah, the building downtown Brooklyn. I was
Mm-hmm.
telling you the 50-story when we passed by all the time we were
Yes.
flying from the park.
Yes.
That building has the way it was built, there's stores and everything downstairs. So the
Right.
actual lobby to the building and the first floor is above it.
it's usually those lobby arcades are 3, 4, 5 stories tall themselves, and sometimes they'll only count as 1 or 2 floors.
Right.
Okay. So if the community board says you can't build a building over X number of stories, there's ways to circumvent that. I mean, just to look at what happened in Long Island City, right? I know we're talking about buildings that are local to us, but there were buildings called City View. Well, those buildings don't have any other view except the skyscrapers right next to them now. How many buildings were down there with City View or East River View? Or they have no views at all now because they put a building right next to it that has a better view.
The perfect example.
And then try to fly drones in those areas now, because you remember, the taller the building is, the more people that occupy that building, and the more people that'll be out on the street at some point in time, right?
Yeah, you know what's funny about what you're saying? The company I used to work for when I first started working in construction, they were one of the companies that worked on the first buildings that went up over there in Long Island City. And these were built in some bad old abandoned alleyways with some old factories and stuff.
I grew up in that neighborhood, Herman.
They put these buildings up in.
Yep, that was an industrial commercial area.
Right near that precinct there off the
right by the 108 precinct on 50.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, along there, they started to build the buildings back in towards inland instead of along the water, and I think a lot of people got suckered into that.
They sure did. They started building them closer to Vernon Boulevard until they finally got down to the Shore Boulevard, okay, or now known as Center Boulevard, okay. But if you look at the density there, it's ridiculous. I mean, first off, I'd hate to get on the number 7 train over there
right now. Point. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
You could have the entire train to yourself back in the day. Okay. Now you got to wait for several trains before you can get on board over there.
You put thousands of people into that neighborhood, and you know what you didn't put?
About 40,000 people. About 40,000 people in the last, I think it's 6 years was the stat that I saw. Right. 40,000 people. Now, I grew up in that neighborhood, and people say, oh, you grew up, oh, man, that was a grimy neighborhood. Let me tell you, it was probably the best neighborhood as a kid. So our team tag could go on for days with the amount of roofs we could climb, okay, and buildings we could transverse over there as kids. And when you played street ball over there, you weren't constantly yelling car, okay? Because we could turn around and play sewer to sewer out there, and hardly a car passed by on the weekends or at night. But that was an industrial, commercial, and residential neighborhood.
Right, at the same time.
Good old Long Island City. Yeah, now called sections of it are called Dutch Kills, okay? But that's a real old neighborhood. If you look at Gantry Plaza, that Gantry State Park over there.
That State Park,
remember, that was the railhead, and then barges, those gantries would lift the rail cars onto barges and float them across the East River to 34th Street, where there was a similar structure over there.
I've always wanted to shoot that area. They have another spot like that, Tom, down by Bush Terminal, where you see the tracks go to the edge of the water, where they used to carry barges. They
go right to the edge of the water
and roll the trains onto.
Well, you know,
remember Long Island
that train
city was a city.
Yeah,
right, it was. That train yard you're talking about, Lawrence, it connects to the tracks with the train yard over there where we were. Remember me, you, and Justin were gonna fly, but the winds were like 900 miles an hour that day.
Yeah.
Cemetery. Right on the corner.
Yeah, they all come through there and head up towards Queens and go out to your spot over there in the Bronx. They connect with the lines going into the Bronx and going across
the Hell's Gate.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Well, you got Sunnyside Yards, which was one of the largest train yards in the country. Actually, it was one of the largest train yards in the world for a while.
That was Sunnyside Yards.
Here's a quick question for you, Tom. This is rumored. Is it true that they plan on building and covering the Sunnyside Yard?
They're already, if you took a drive over there right now, Lawrence, you'll see that the bridge going from, I believe, 39th Street over to Steinway Street, they have closed right now. They're reinforcing certain structure. The Honeywell Bridge, okay, that's over by, I think, 33rd Street and Skillman. that bridge is still open, but it's down to a single lane. So yes, I've heard similar things, and I heard that the Dutch Kills Civic Organization was opposed to it because they're like, you already overbuilt our neighborhood, and you didn't put any infrastructure in place. Like the roads aren't getting better. That's for damn
Supermarkets
sure.
and the roads
right?
aren't getting. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that
No,
is.
no.
Hey,
You're gonna
EBR.
need schools and supermarkets and stuff like that around there.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, have I flown over there? Yeah, it might be some footage somewhere. Okay, but yeah, if you look, the entire complexion of that
Which
area has
Tom
changed.
we have
Just
to
like
mention.
downtown Brooklyn.
But Tom, we
flew
have to
over there
mention.
before that bubble went up.
But hold on, Herman and Tom. We also have to mention Sunnyside Yard is now in a no-fly zone. So if you go to
Yes.
my YouTube channel and you see pictures and
I
videos
flew
from
before
then,
that bubble
that was
expanded.
post no-fly zone, and I need to
That
go
was
back to those
pre. That
videos.
was way before.
Right, but
those were
if
in
you have
place.
videos from flying back in that time, and it just remind me, I have to go back and post date those videos to show before this time frame that it was legal to fly there.
Well, you have that's already built into your metadata, so
Yeah.
you're pretty good there. It's not the
Yeah,
FAA is
but
going
for the
to
drone
go after you
police,
for that.
the drone police.
Well, the drone police are the drone police, but they have no real power, right? I mean, a knucklehead is a knucklehead regardless. Okay, look, there are some beautiful places to fly in New York City where you can get great views.
There's a lot of beautiful places.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of beautiful places. I mean, the cityscape is wonderful. You go over to Jersey, there's some great spots over there to get a good view. I'm just not a proponent of launching in Manhattan anywhere, to be honest with you. At least not south of 125th. So,
and I repeat,
but that's me, and I'm nobody's.
But Tom,
I'm nobody's keeper.
Tom,
I
as a
am
drone,
nobody's keeper.
as a drone channel, and as people who live, drone pilots, all of us on the panel live here in New York, we have to state this because a lot of
Yes.
people see videos from New York City flying over by what's that dude? Drone something. Drone. He's a 107 pilot. I found out. I found out he's a 107 pilot, and that's why he was able to get away with these flights. But people think you can fly a drone at 1,100 feet over buildings in Manhattan. It is not true.
Just because I'm a 107 pilot doesn't mean that I can walk into the middle of Manhattan and just throw my drone up.
And this is what I want to just point out.
As much as I would love to fly straight down Fifth Avenue until I get a return to home signal.
So let me explain. With a 107, you would still need to get authorization from the city of New York in the form of a film permit. You would still have to put up a multi-million-dollar bond. You would still have to provide
local police of your path.
Certain safeguards. No, you'd have to have local police on scene. Okay. Now, tell me if any of them have ever done that, and I'll show you somebody who's probably handing you a line of BS. Okay. But again, I'm nobody's keeper.
If you did that, Tom, legally, and you know me, I know you're full of shit.
Yeah.
You said.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily, Lawrence. Not necessarily.
Herman.
Because
there is no. I do not
necessarily, Lawrence, because anyone can be working for anyone right about now.
Okay, this is true. This is true. But Tom, let me interject really quick. Right now, I've been flying for 4.5, going on 5 years. I do not know any New York City drone pilots that can get permission and or a waiver and pay for the insurance to fly in Manhattan.
You're working for a company that's going to do that. The way that is done right now with the film industry tells New York City, this is where I'm flying, and the industry gets them all the permits and everything that they need.
I understand that.
So anybody that you know that could be working in that industry could be doing that.
There's one group.
I'm just saying I personally don't know anyone that does that.
There's one group, and I've attended some of their seminars.
Mm-hmm.
It's the National Press Photographers Association. Okay. Even they have struggled with that. I mean, you know, CBS, ABC, Fox, they all all have drone pilots now.
Yes, they do.
Right.
Channel 7,
Guess where
channel
they
2.
can't fly? Right. So it's very limited use. Okay. And believe me, they have to go through the same hurdles. Okay. So if you're filming a $150 million film that features New York, half the time it's being filmed in Toronto. Okay. And the other half of the time, okay, you're putting up a multi-million-dollar bond to fly, and it has to be treated as a closed set. So all those people you might see on the street during that flight are
They
all
won't be there.
extras because they actually have to barricade off the street, because otherwise you would have to get a waiver from each civilian to say they don't mind you flying over their head. Otherwise, now you run afoul of the FAA. Okay. And believe me, if you're in the commercial realm, that can get very, very expensive then.
Oh,
Now, the
trust
FAA
me.
is not into big mega fines, but if the FAA pulls your tag, you're kind
And you don't
of
have
out of business
something
in
as
that
simple,
industry.
and if you don't have something as simple as a recovery plan, you could get screwed.
Well, you have to have the entirety of that safety plan has to be inclusive of all those items.
Hadley,
Okay.
I'm laughing because Hadley's talking about, I
And
wish I
the
lived by
big
you
bad wolf.
guys. That Hadley lives out in Arizona, and I'm sure he would love to fly here in the city. He's like, it would be 8 hours driving and 8 hours sleeping if I drove from Arizona to New York.
I think he must have a very fast vehicle. Okay.
I wasn't going to mention nothing about that, Tom, but you pointed it out.
Yeah. About 2,200 miles later. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm sure
arrive.
you'd have to change tires along the way.
I know he's going to stop for a lot of gas.
Spectacular vista. Okay. And of course, if that's all you're used to, you Jones to fly in an urban area. Okay. Me living in an urban area, I Jones to fly out in those rural areas. I'm always looking to take those day trips upstate. Okay.
Yeah.
Just to find that mountaintop I can launch from.
You know what, Tom? It's funny you say that because being an urban flyer. We are urban flyers here in New York City, metropolitan area. We're not talking upstate, but I always tell people I can fly and get around buildings and obstacles, but if you put me in a desert, I probably wouldn't know what to freaking do. I'd be like, okay, I'm flying to this mountain range here, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna make a left at the cactus. You know, it's I would love to fly out in an area like that.
Well, I got to tell you, a couple of times I've made it over a mountain ridge, okay, and lost my signal. I then had to think very quickly, did I set my return to home altitude at the proper height? Okay. And believe me, the anxiety level definitely increases, like some of us have dealt with in the, okay. But it's not a simple matter of walking 2 blocks over and picking it up. Okay.
No, it's not.
You might be summiting. Yeah. The first time I flew in the Red Rock area, I was with my bride and we were flying. I was flying and I had gone and I'm coming back. And all of a sudden, what I forgot to realize was my return to home altitude was fine, but I was in negative digits and didn't figure out my math quick enough because I flew down into a valley. And then all of a sudden it's saying it's having problems and I hit return to home. And I'm like, well, wait a second. I don't think it's going to go high enough. What is this? What am I seeing? And I try to muscle it back and it basically landed itself. And luckily it was next to a dry creek bed. Okay. Of course, the gimbal had to hit
a rock or something.
The littlest rock it could find. But I had to go down this ridge.
Murphy's Law.
I had to climb down about a quarter of a mile down and then
To
go
go
another 400 or 500 feet.
to go
You know, it says
recover your
it's
bird
500 feet away. Yeah, that's one thing. But then add in,
in a straight
okay,
line. It's 500
right
feet
now,
away.
now add in another 1,200 feet down a ridge.
Mm-hmm.
And now after I got it, I had to think to myself, hey, I'm not a young guy. Okay. Going down a hill is one thing. Coming
Oh, yeah,
back up
back
is a
up, yeah.
completely other.
Yeah.
Okay. And I said to the wife before I went down the ridge, keep an eye on me. If I stop moving for any length of time, call 911. Okay. So, you know, flying in those rural areas takes a bit of planning also. And you know what? That's key. That's key in this hobby or industry is just taking it out of the bag and throwing it up in the air is not the responsible thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to look at your surroundings. You got to figure out what obstacles you're dealing with. And you got to make sure your settings are set. Like you said the other day, you know, your white balance, even your white balance, because the worst thing to do is to get that footage
You
back
hear
and
this,
realize
Hadley? You hear this, Hadley?
it
Listen to what
it's
he's
crap.
saying. No,
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
Tom,
you got to plan.
I want
You
you
got to
to
plan.
reiterate on that because your white balance and filters. Hadley's famous FPV. He's from Arizona. He's flown Red Rock and stuff. He lives not far from there, and he just recently got for his Ortel filters, but he got a 32 and a 64. So he went out to go fly. And by the way, congratulations to Hadley because the BBC wants him to film the Haboob dust storms that hit Arizona every year.
Okay.
But
Nice.
he had went out and got filters because you need filters, and he had a 32 and a 64, and he just recently got a 4, an 8, and a 16. And I said, you will probably take those 32 and that 64 filters. And unless you're filming a sunset looking directly into the sun, you will probably never need them. But that 16 is going to be your favorite filter. That
Nice shot
16, that
The
throwing
8
8,
and the
more
and then,
16 are
throwing
probably my
across that
most
desert.
often used. Yes.
yep,
Yes.
yep.
I
So
would say the
remember,
16 is probably the best, but also realize when you start putting those heavy filters on, you put a 64 on your bird. Or look, come on, Polar Pro has what, a 1000 out there also. You
Yeah.
put those on the bird, you're not flying by that screen or in a different direction. That screen is basically going dark on you, okay, because you're not getting enough light through it. So you're right. If you're facing the sun or the light source, yeah,
Right.
you can see through that
right,
ND
looking in,
filter,
like if you've seen
okay.
that,
And if you
that,
don't adjust your
Right.
settings
Especially if you
properly,
use like
right?
descending like a D log, you'll be able to
well,
see.
I found out the Ortel does have log. Log is their Ortel's version of D log.
Right, right,
Okay, they
right.
do not have a Cinelike like we do, but I was telling him to use D-Log, and with that 16 filter at 100 ISO, shooting at 60 frames per second at 1/120th, he should have some really, really beautiful footage. So we're
Well,
just waiting for
again,
them to call him. Actually,
right.
I was like, I'm going along with him. He's waiting for them to call him to say, all right, let's go. The shoot is tomorrow. The shoot is today.
Uh,
And
I'll
he
tell you,
just
one of the things I enjoyed shooting out there was what you call dust devils.
he
These
just
little
he go,
kick-ups
Tom. He
of
goes out his
dust
backyard and
All right.
sees them.
and sees them. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you know, the only problem is I just got a NOAA alert on my tablet that the current temperature in the Mojave Desert is 121 degrees.
Ooh.
Okay. So you better make sure
You
you
hear
got
this,
money
Hadley?
to expend on a battery because a battery is disposable at that point. Okay.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's
Get a
I'm a
cooler.
big fan of the Southwest, but I plan on buying an RV and
I'll be
hunting
right
for
back.
75 degrees, June, July, August. So, you know, that's part of the planning, right? We've had some hot days here in the New York area, and you know, people putting up their drones and they're cooking batteries. So that's part of that planning that you have to make sure of, that you're prepared to deal with those kinds of situations and realize you might not get your 20 plus minutes off that battery that you were expecting. So when you fly out, 2, 3, 4,000 feet, you might not make it back that 2, 3, 4,000 feet back to home. So it takes some planning. Definitely.
Got to get a cooler for the batteries.
Oh yeah. If that were only, that'll be the next hot item, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the batteries cool in the summertime and warm in the winter.
Right. It's like carrying a passenger at that point. That's why they got to make those batteries a lot better. That's the whole thing, is you don't have a passenger on board. Right. So you shouldn't have to worry about those things, except the battery technology still has limitations. I mean, you have limitations with iPads. We look to put out iPads out on the street for use. But the problem is at 95 plus degrees, your iPad screen can go dark on you.
Right.
That
was
and now if
crystal sky.
Now if you're not flying a line of sight, Herman, right? And you're flying by that screen, you're out of business.
How do you get it back?
You better know how to use that return to home button, and you better have confidence in it because you pre-flighted and set the proper return to home altitude.
Yeah.
That's
happened to
me
before,
key.
But
that's key.
Not with the drone out at a distance. I didn't when I first started, I used to use my phone and I didn't realize my battery was low. And
right.
I just went across Calvert Box. And the phone battery died. I was like, oh shoot. The phone battery died.
That's right.
I can still see the drone. Okay, which way is it going?
and that's the other thing, right? Okay. How many brand new drone pilots have you seen face the drone towards them the first time they take off? They hit the sticks in the wrong direction. That's why as a new drone pilot, I always tell everybody, face the drone away from you, keep it oriented in the same direction you are, because your biggest problem is going to be during takeoff or landing. Mm-hmm. And even when you land, turn the drone away from you, okay? Face it in the same direction you are and bring it in backwards. So in case you have a problem, you don't hit the sticks.
Well, someone had showed me
direction.
The whole stick test when I was learning.
Well, that's it. When I was in that ravine, right? That was the whole thing. Am I going in the right direction? Okay. Right. Am I going left or am I going right? And if you're not maintaining visual line of sight, like the FAA tells you to, okay, you can't tell.
True.
And how many people are that adept at switching their screens to a map? Okay. How many people, there's still people that have been flying for a while don't even know they have a map. Okay. So, the map comes in handy, especially if you want to retrace your route or something like that. But it really comes in handy if you lost line of sight and want to figure out how to stick it coming back instead of hitting that return to home.
No, Tom.
Or at the very least, hit the return to home and go pause, hit the return to home where it's coming back in the right direction. Then you can disable return to home and fly the rest of the way home if you want.
I've come to find out, Tom, with flying drones, reading is fundamental. And unfortunately, not everyone can read as well as others, because I know people that can fly the hell out of a drone, but if you show them a map, it's like Chinese food. They don't know what it is.
And that's why YouTube is so important, okay?
True.
For those that are reading impaired, okay, then you better be a sponge.
Tom,
and soak up as much YouTube as you can.
Problem with that with YouTube, you could be learning from the same.
Oh, you could be learning all the wrong things too.
You could be learning from your twin brother on YouTube.
well, remember, in society, common sense is at a premium. Okay.
But Tom, I want to make it a very valid point. Anytime you want to come on those guys, man, just say, yo, where's my invite? Because not only you make the conversation interesting, but you confirm a lot of stuff that Herman and I have been saying since we've been doing those guys. And I do know for a fact there's a lot of people that come to our live stream and they're like, oh, these guys don't know what the hell they're talking about. So to have another ear
Just a
and
little bit.
another 107 pilot verify some of these things. And also you're not afraid to say you're wrong. Like earlier, I made a statement. You were like incorrect. We need that on here, so I
Well,
appreciate it.
I thank you very much for that, gentlemen. I've had nothing but good experiences with these three gentlemen that are on right now. Okay. I mean,
Thank
some
you.
of the
Yes, thank
first
you,
individuals I
thank you,
met
Timeless.
that said basically we need to fly with radios.
Mhm.
Okay. Because there were plenty of situations where you've got we're fortunate in this local area that we have a lot of people that share this passion.
That's
And
true.
so when you have a meetup, they all show up and everybody's throwing up their bird at the same time, and
Well,
nobody's paying attention to who's flying at what altitude and what direction.
well, the
So
whole radio
I
thing.
want to tell everybody who's on the chat right now that these gentlemen right here were the ones that promoted the use of using radios and talking to each other and acting responsibly at these meetups, calling out your altitudes, making
Uh,
sure we had spotters, and doing it safely so that you protected your investment and you protected others and you enjoyed yourself. I mean, if you lose a $1,500 to $1,800 drone your first time out, I bet you're not going to enjoy this anymore.
Tom, I bet
So
you he wasn't
my
flying with
hat's off
us.
to you, gentlemen.
I
Well,
bet.
thank you, Tom. But what I wanted to say was that yes, we were the ones that promoted it and we pushed it and we continued to push it, but the actual idea came from another guy that was in
Another drone pilot, James
uh,
Earl.
yeah, James Earl, who's
Yes, yep.
the
I know
creator of the
James.
Flight Fanatics.
Uh,
If you
uh,
watch any of
James is
our
a great
videos,
photographer, by the way.
the banner for the Flight Fanatics is another one of the groups that I was affiliated with.
Yep.
He was the one that actually came up with the idea, and we actually pushed it and ran with it. And
We made sure that a lot of New York City pilots have radios now when they fly.
and it's funny
Yep.
because even talking with a lot of people, a lot of people think that it's a great idea, but even studying for the 107, it was even mentioned in there for having communication with your crew. You know,
Yes.
and
Yep.
they even mentioned it in
Absolutely.
there. So
It is a requirement also if you have a certificate of
right.
authorization in the public safety realm.
Mhm.
Gentlemen, I have to go because I am
We
the
we
cook
we
at
all
home.
have to. We
We're
all have
about to
to
all
talk.
get out of here because it's that time. But I
Okay.
want to get a drop
And
before we get out of here.
you got it. I'll wait for that.
Okay,
right.
you ready, guys? Wednesday night with those guys is sponsored by
Those
those
guys.
guys.
Thank you, Joe Mack, for
Thank
coming
you.
in. We appreciate you. We
Thank you,
appreciate all of you.
Tom. I thank you for coming and hanging out on the panel and discussing these topics and talking about
Anytime, Tom.
the
You're one
news
of
you
those
brought to us.
guys.
Thank you
I
very much
appreciate it.
for
I
making
appreciate
our
it,
night
gentlemen.
and coming and hanging out with us. And I'd like to
I
thank all
appreciate
you guys in the chat for stopping in and hanging out with us because without you, none of this is possible. So once again, I'll say, I'll see you next time on Phantom Flight 101 with those guys.